going to cover malware and then ransomware as well. So if you're familiar with malware, malicious software such as Trojans or viruses, so you'll know what a Trojan is. It's the analogy of the Trojans, and then the Trojan Horse, and it's pretty much the fraudsters in their Trojan Horse, and then coming into your PC and then taking it over. Now, how does this happen? It can be downloaded, as Giuseppe said, there's got phishing emails it's covered, illegal websites, ad banners, things like that. You know, these clicking on these things that pop up can be extremely risky. And what will happen is that the malware will just sit on your PC. The Trojan will just be sitting on your PC, just waiting until you access the UK bank website. And what we have is we've got your PC, we've got the fraudster. So if your browser's infected, the fraudster basically will take you to a lookalike site. And I think one of the kind of key themes of anything that we've discussed so far is round about when the fraudster is asking you to key in information, yeah? So whether it was on the SMS taking you to key something in, or the fraudster phoning you and asking you to divulge information for login, and this is similar as well. So the fraudster will divert you to the lookalike site and he'll take your login credentials real time, okay? So you're logging in, he's getting that information, and then what he's going to do next is that he's going to key the payment while keeping you in a holding pattern. So you think that you're communicating online with your bank, but what's happened is the fraudster's diverted that. You're keying in your information, but the fraudster's then using that information that you're putting in to go into a separate screen and access your bank details separately, and then start to using payments. So as the genuine customer is putting in their, the card reader, when you put in the card for your 2FA code, yeah, they're just keying in they're just keying in the codes as well, and then diverting them out. So the fraudster presents a screen saying that the smart code's needed in order to complete the sign-in, and again, that's the connection, that's the crown jewels with the smart code. And then what they'll do is they'll use the code to authorise the fraudulent payment. And all the time, the customer's still looking at something that they think, yep, this is fine, this is all in order. But it's a fake site. It's been diverted to a fake site. You think it's genuine, but the fraudster's actually in your real account online, emptying it with these codes as well. But it sounds like a bit of a horrific kind of situation, but there is a reasonably simple solution. And it's free. Everyone will be glad to know, because it's something that we offer. And Giuseppe says it's something that RBS offer. It's not an RBS product. I don't know if any of you guys heard of Trustee Report at all. I think it's IBM that offer it. Yep, Trustee Report. So we're going to cover that, and that's a great thing if you can get that on your PC, and I'll explain why. That's something that's good that you can get that on. So, coming back to the kind of real-time summary, if you like, on what's happened is the fraudsters now got the time, they've taken your code, they withdraw the stolen money, and then inject the screen. And typically what they'll do is they'll say, look, they'll put in the screen and they'll say, the service is down now, you need to wait for a couple of minutes, a couple of hours, or however long you want to wait. Don't attempt to log in. And when you do, if you follow that instruction, when you do, you'll find that the account has probably got fraudulent transactions on it and they've stolen from you. Okay, so it's not the best thing. So Giuseppe's going to cover ransomware, and then we'll go back to.
So I'll start with a question: does anyone know what ransomware is? Has anyone had their files in their computer encrypted and something comes up similar to this? No, well, I have, and I'm working in a financial crime industry, so it could happen to anyone. In this instance, my computer was, as I was surfing the internet, one of the sites that I went to was compromised. A genuine site was compromised, and because of certain security that I had in my computer allowed this to come through. It was called drive-by malware in this instance, but it was ransomware. So what ransomware does, it's a dirty one. It's very, very bad. It's very stressful. What it does is it comes into your computer and it encrypts a lot of files on your computer, and it encrypts them so that way you can't open them. So that data, is lost to you. You cannot use it. And in all cases, something will pop up saying that your personal files are encrypted, or they've been locked, or they're secure due to the content. Whatever they say, at the end of the day, they're going to tell you that you can open them, you can get them uncrypted by paying a fee, or you've been fined by. We saw one in the U.S. It was one of the agencies you've been fined for looking at certain sites, and it comes up with, you have to pay this fine. What they want you to do is they want you to pay this fine, and then they're saying that what they'll do is they'll unencrypt your files and you'll be back to normal, but malware would still be there. All it's going to do is it's going to encrypt it. You'll see that you can't access it, and you'll know when you get this malware. This is going to pop up on your screen almost instantly, or your virus software should tell you that this is up and this is in. But what we recommend is do not pay the fine, because there's no guarantee that they're going to unencrypt your files. They could do even more damage, but once they're on your PC, it's on your PC, you're not going to get rid of it right away. What we suggest you do is use backups to recover your data. So reset your computers, use your backups, bring up your old data. But it's a hard one, because if you're a company and you rely on the information on your computer and you can't access it when you need it, obviously that's a big one. If you fall victim to this, we suggest, first of all, contacting the police. Financial fraud action, or we call it action fraud, has some advice and some potential areas where they can help you. But always contact your bank to let them know what's going on. That way they can make sure that your accounts are secure to the best of their ability, because you don't know what else could be happening behind the scenes. But ransomware it does happen. It happens to a lot of people. If you have up-to-date software, you have Trustee Report or another type of solution that's particularly designed to prevent financial malware, then you should be helped. But this is an example that it can happen to anybody. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. So we'll go to online banking best practices. First of all, regularly change login passwords. Everybody hates changing their passwords, but we suggest that you do it, especially because everybody always has multiple things they have to log into, multiple passwords. Never have one password for everything. That's a single point of compromise.
No, why? There's some guilty faces.
I know it makes your life easier, but the criminals smile when this happens to them, because they can just go and take everything with just one password. Don't allow staff to share credentials if you're employing people. Make sure that each member of staff has their own access, their own passwords, and they keep it secure. That is key, because you don't want them to say, well, he did it, or she did it, no, he did it, she did it, and you're stuck with two people that might have done it. Dual authorizations of payment is always key. Make sure that not one person makes all payments, especially at a certain threshold. You want to make sure that somebody else is looking over the first person's shoulder, not because you think they're going to steal money, but just to make sure that it's all safe and secure, and it's all the right person you're paying it to, and everything and whatnot. Apply payment limits to each individual, especially because managers, obviously, you want to give a higher access, but the regular everyday staff, if they don't need a large payments limit, then you shouldn't give it to them. They just don't need it. And it will get rid of a potential insider event where they say, well, you know what, I'm short on money, I'm just going to transfer myself money, because they don't have access to so much. Disable functionalities and payment options that you don't normally use. This is particularly for our Bankline users. If there's something on, if there's options on your service that you don't need, turn them off. Regular review user roles and privileges. So look at your staff members, make sure that they have the right privileges that they need, and only the privileges they need to get the job done daily. Train your staff in awareness. That is key, and that's why we're here today. We're training you, hoping that you'll train your staff, your colleagues, let people know about fraud, because in most cases, people don't actively look to learn about fraud unless they've been a victim themselves or someone close to them has. And if everybody was to be fraud aware or secure aware, that would really hurt the criminals. And just while we're here, RBS have Security Center on our website. That's not just for our customers. Anybody can go to that site and learn a lot about security. So use that tool. We offer it. It's there. It's free. Just go in there and learn what you can, and feel free to share that with your colleagues and your staff members. Keep your software up to date. Antivirus software, all of your every system that you use. Make sure it's up to date and it's fully secure. Restrict sites to staff that they don't need access to. If they don't need access to Facebook, don't give them Facebook. If they don't need access to randomly surf the web, then limit what they can look at and the different types of sites they can look at. That way it will decrease the ability for them to maybe go to a site that's compromised with malware. And you need to make sure that home working is protected. So if you offer the ability for your staff members to log in remotely, make sure that's secure, but also make sure that their device is secure as well. Make sure they have antivirus software up to date as well.
Okay.
This is the big one.
Okay, so if there's one thing you could take away from this evening is if you bank with Royal Bank of Scotland, it's a free service. If you don't, there's a fair chance that who you bank with may provide something similar. Yeah. Download Trustee Report. Okay. So what Trustee Report is, basically assumes control of the API, and the API, the application programming interface. Now, in terms that I'm going to say, I was going to say in layman's terms, but actually in terms I can understand, because some of this is complex, but what it does is it basically puts a pipe between the bank and your PC. Okay, it's a secure line. So if you imagine the line between the bank and the PC, malware that we've been talking about and Trojans that we've been talking about, fraudsters can inject malware along this pipe. Yeah. So if you download this, what this does is it basically cements the pipe so that it's a secure line between the bank and your PC. Okay, it's free. If you go onto the Royal Bank's website, you'll see the links to Trustee Report. On a business level, if you're from a business perspective and from a Polish professional business perspective, there is a helpline. So if you're working in a company or an organisation where there is maybe other infrastructure and technological controls that you might want to kind of make sure check first, there is a helpline that you'll get from Trustee, from IBM Trustee Report, so you can, if there are any problems or if you're not sure how to do it, they'll talk you through it. On a personal level, I would implore you, download Trustee Report. Okay, so a lot of the things we talk about here, and when we've been talking about some of the scary stuff, especially with, Giuseppe with the phishing and downloading all these files and the malware sitting dormant, that what this will do is it will detect it where there is like financial malware on your PC. It will stop it happening in the first place as well. And really, so for instance, we'll just run through this very quickly. So keystrokes are all encrypted, so your keystroke loggers won't work, so fraudsters can't see what you're typing in. The destination website is authenticated, so it's nice and secure. There's a browser lockdown as well, so everything is in a secure session. Okay, so when we were talking about the complexities of all this versus the simplicity, the simple thing to do is to go and download Trustee Report. You probably don't need to know how it fully works, but that is what it does, and I would really urge you to do that. Okay.
Is it available for Mac as well?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And there's also another advantage to it. If you're an RBS customer, your card details, if you're shopping online on Amazon or whatever, it encrypts your card details as well. So the criminals can't get that. They can't see that in transit. So it's a great service. It protects you from financial malware, protects your cards. There's no reason not to get it. Whether it's us that have it or another organization that offers something like it or this, we get it. And that will give you some reassurance when you're doing things on the internet. Yeah. And that's pretty much key for everyone.
And what we do say as well is, so antivirus is only so successful. So you may have an antivirus set up on your PC, but the way that antivirus works, it checks against lists of known malware, and then it goes to go and hunt them down to find the malware. And what you can have is a thing called polymorphic malware. And basically how that works is this malware will know that it's been hunted and it can hide. Now, it sounds a bit out there, but that's it. It's polymorphic, so it morphs. Yeah. So I'm a malware. I'm a piece of malware. Something's coming after it, and it can morph and hide itself. So again, this is good. Your antivirus only works so far. Yeah, and it works on updates and lists. So if you, as Giuseppe said, update your antivirus, very important. But download Trustee Report as well.
The two together gives you some reassurance.
Yeah. Okay, invoices. I think some of you said invoice fraud. I'm going to cover this quickly. And the simplicity of this is fantastic, and it's exceptionally effective, and fraudsters make lots of money from this, and we have seen invoice fraud. Now, it's something that as a bank we can't actually directly get involved in. So if you can imagine you're a legitimate company, you're working hard, and then you get a letter in from, say, one of the utilities companies that says, hello, we're power, we're gas, whatever, we're changing our bank account details, so you'll have to amend your standing order. The new sort code is this, the new account number is this, please amend your records, and it comes in reasonably official paper, or what you deem to be official paper. So you go in, and then you say, do you know what I'm going to have to pay? I'm going to have to change the bank details so that my bill gets to the new bank account details of the company, okay? And it is as simple as that, because it's a fraudster that's just quite simply asked, could you just please pay me instead, okay? The bank's not really involved per se, because it's you have gone in, you've changed the instruction, you've changed the payment details, and it's just been made to somewhere else. The first time you'll probably hear about it is when you get a reminder bill or a final demand in, and you think, well, hang on a minute, I've paid this. And then you check with the bank and they say, well, no, you've not. You've paid a fraudster. It's as simple as that, and we see people falling for it quite regularly. So again, in the cold light of day, when we've all got cold light of night, when we've all got fraud hats on, we're thinking that's ridiculous. Nobody is going to I'm not just going to do that. And that's fine. If you're thinking that, that's fine. On a busy day, maybe you, or if you've got members of staff and they're running through lots of instructions and they're busy and it's just something that could slip through, and they think, do you know what, this looks authentic, I'm going to change the payment details, and the money's gone. What do we see about the invoice fraud then, just covering on? So staff not checking invoices are from genuine suppliers, not checking to see if the bank account details are the same as the ones on the file. So it's just a simple check. And so, do you know what? Like everything else, see if you're in doubt, double check. Independent phone number, phone up. If you've got a relationship manager, or if you're maybe in a bigger company and you've got the luxury of a kind of invoice checker or relationship manager between yourself and the company, your supplier, you could pick up the phone and just check with them as well, okay? That's what we would advise. Manual processing of invoices, missing duplicate invoices. So again, just double check. It's all about having a robust system that you're not paying duplicate invoices, or you're just, you know, what's the word? It's a kind of reconciliation, that you're reconciling what you're paying out to what you're. It's just good practice. But again, this is where fraudsters will cash in on any weaknesses. So here we go. What can you do? Okay, so check for irregularities. One of the things that we've noticed is that the fraudsters, they're very good at presenting the kind of facsimile letter template, but they're rubbish at spelling. So check a lot of this, check the spelling, okay? Sometimes they'll go to so much effort to produce like a masterpiece, and it just, you know, to the naked eye, you think this is rubbish, nobody could have possibly sent this out. Contact the supplier if you're using an independently sourced number. So this again, just kind of reaffirming what I've already said. Confirm the correct details with the supplier before the payment's made, so again, just double checking. Email confirmation of payments that have been made to the supplier. You could potentially set up an email confirmation if you're paying something, just get everything confirmed back from them. Undertake a proactive review of recent pipeline requests. So again, it's just good housekeeping and good practice. And speak with other employees responsible for the type of request. So for instance, you guys might be sitting there, you're the boss, yeah, but you've got maybe 5 or 6 folk working underneath you. Just make sure, check with them. What would you do if you get a letter in asking for a change of bank details? And that's it. It's pretty simple, isn't it? But again, we do see it. Yes. We see it regularly, people paying away on false invoices, and it's infuriating. So
that's money gone.
That's money gone. And they've not even had to work for it.
Does anyone here use checks or deal with checks in their everyday? Yeah? So there are some of you that do that. Well, check fraud is still around. It's still a big deal. Checks aren't looking to go away anytime soon, especially because small to medium businesses depend on them. They thrive on checks. So check fraud is going to be here for a long time. So when we're looking at check fraud, there's 3 different types of check fraud. First of all, you have your altered check. Now this is a fraudulently acquired altered check. Is typically a genuine check that's been changed. They changed the payee, they changed the amount, they changed anything on it. The signature is legitimate, and everything else is legitimate. It's just they changed it. A lot of the times it could be intercepted in the post, and they get the check and they just change it to pay themselves via different methods. That's an altered check. Counterfeit checks are a check that's printed on non-bank issued paper, doesn't look the same, doesn't feel the same, there's not the same security controls like your UV lights, none of that's on there, but unfortunately some of them still do get paid, especially in bulk when a lot of checks are being processed at one time. Forged checks is a genuine check, just with a fraudulent signature. And we do see these quite often, especially in small companies where you have one person paying, they can pay one check themselves and sign the signature because they see the signature on a daily basis. It's easily done. Check fraud is still a big issue. FFA UK, Fraud the Facts, said that last year, or 2014, the UK industry reported 18 million worth of loss due to just check fraud. And that's relatively a small number compared to some of the other things that we've talked about today. But it just tells you that check fraud is still around. So if you get a check, definitely be careful with it. Look at it, make sure it's legitimate. And if you're sending out checks, there's simple things that you can do to protect yourself. So from a business perspective, good housekeeping. Limit the number of checkbooks you hold. Only have as many as you need, and keep the ones that you don't need to use right now locked away. So only use one at a time. Use them in numerical order. Check the middle of the book every once in a while to make sure no one's taken one out of order and run with it. And store checks securely, and make sure you know who has access to them. That's key. When issuing checks, do not leave any gaps. Use all the space. Make a line, make dots. Just use all the space. That way there's no way for a criminal to alter that check by adding an extra zero or adding from Mr. and HMRC to a hash and then change it. There's so many different tactics that they use. Send checks recorded for special delivery, if that works, or just disguise it in some way. Put it in a plain envelope instead of one that you were provided by, just do whatever you can do to make sure it doesn't look like it's, hey, this is a check, I know it's a check, I'm going to pocket this and run with it. Do not sign blank checks. I'm hoping that everyone would know that. Don't give a blank check to anyone sign. That's not good. Reconcile frequently. Look at your checks. So if you know that you've had 12 checks out, reconcile them. Look at your account details. Make sure that all 12 checks have been received. Make sure they went to the right people. And if you know that, then you know that you're not having one missing. The reconciler should not be the same as the issuer if you're a business. So if I'm issuing checks, make sure someone else is looking over my shoulder, making sure that they all match up. That way I'm not paying myself a few checks or paying someone else. And then verify why the check was issued. So if you don't recognize this person that you're paying, question it and make sure you understand why was that paid, and did we receive the service for that? And if you did, then obviously you're okay. If not, then you might want to have a discussion with the person who signed that check out. But basically, with check fraud, just look carefully at the checks that you're receiving. Make sure they're okay. But the big deal is when you're sending out checks, just make sure they get to where they're going. Make sure you see it debit your account. As long as you check your account details, you should see what's coming out, and you should be fine with that. And if the value has changed, then you'll notice that immediately as well if it went to someone else. So.
Do I do the Bankline?
Yeah, so does anyone here use Bankline? Did we ask that? Yeah?
We have a few.
So we have a few Bankline golden rules, but they also go into some of the other things that we talk about, like the social engineering. So, but first of all, we will never ask for full PIN and passwords online. We'll never ask for, we'll only ask for certain digits of it. And anyone who's logged into most bank sites, you'll know that they only ask you put second, third, fifth in. If you're ever asked for it in full, it's a stop there. We will never ask for PINs and password details or any smart card codes over the telephone. So we'll never ask you PIN and your password over the telephone, and you know the card reader codes, we'll never ask you for them over the phone. It will not happen. So be aware of imposters. As we heard on the call today, it's easy to be tricked. Just beware. And if you're asked for that, just end the call. Call your bank from a legitimate number that you know of. And we will never ask for smart card codes at login. So when you're logging into online banking, it will never ask you for your smart card codes. It just doesn't happen. Those are only used to process payments and authorize them. And last but not least, again, we're not selling you anything. It's a free service. Trustee Report. Protect yourself from malware, financial malware. Protect your card details being used online. Just use that service, or find out what services you have available to you and download it.